Hey guys, it's Vader, and this is part 4, I believe, of my skinning tutorial. So, in the last part, we ended up finally going through all of these tools and some of these options, whatever, settings, other tools, how to color the way that I do. And in this part, I'm going to show, well, for example, let's open up this. This is a image that Joe was thinking of using for his skin. Where did the rest of my windows go? That is really weird. Uh-huh. It's not weird at all. Weird that it just closed my thing. Alright, that I never had that happen. Anyway, so what we want to do is we're going to get this and put it on here. So, easiest way to do that is, well, since I don't really like it that it's on the side, I'm going to put it back. And I'm going to select the free select tool. And then zoom in a little. And start selecting. It looks like not here, but here. You can even see. Probably this here. Well, trying to look here at this thing and like, huh. No. There. I guess I won't select the belt. For now, at least. So again, the selecting doesn't have to be anything fancy, but you get the general idea. Probably something like that. As you can see, I prefer doing it this way. Just click, 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 and now here is where we might want to zoom in. And then we can zoom out. and we can see what we selected. So we selected the chest piece here, and now we can do copy, and then we go to our thing here, and we can right click, edit, paste. And then, well, there's a problem. How do we, uh, you know, make this fit? Well, we take the scale tool and then it looks bad. Yes, but you'll see. And most likely you're gonna have to like fill in the rest with um, some of the color that's over here because there's no way to, you know, there's no way to, words, to fill this in any other way, like with this piece. Like you could fill it in with just, like I said, it's just the color that, like here, like a grayish, silver, goldish, I don't know. But of course, this is like the cheap, uh, like quick way of of doing it. Otherwise, if you really are artistic, then you can go ahead and do that. But I'm not that artistic. So whenever I have to like do stuff like this, then I'll just take an image. But for the most part, I've never really like done a like a texture like this for like armor or something, like remaking the whatever the actual like clothing. Like I've put stuff on clothing, like either text or just an image, like a tiny image. Well, it doesn't have to be tiny, but just an image on the original clothing. Or, well, it doesn't have to be the original clothing. It could be colored and then just an image on top of that. But, what we could do maybe is we could do this. We can make it more like that. That's another way of doing it. Again, this was kind of iffy here. Probably should have kept some black here, but you get the idea. And then scale. Problem is that it's now going into here, so there's gonna be an issue. So we're gonna have to go back, and as you can see, we're already uncovering some that we covered. But yeah, you get the idea. Let's just put it back to how it was here, just so it looks a little better. Even though it will, whoops, it will overlap with this piece. This is the back. This is the front. So, uh, what we could do maybe is go here, get the free select, and now if you remember, shift, hold shift, yeah, hold shift, and then we can add this here. Something like that. And this doesn't matter because it's already selected. So now we can copy again, and this has to go bye-bye. Paste, and we get to do it again. Yay. Make it fat. Whoops. And tall. Fat again. So you can see it's a little better now. A little better. It's not perfect, of course. But let's just say that's our thing. It's gonna look bad, I can tell you that. Is there anything else? This is only really just a tutorial, so it doesn't have to be fancy. If there's like anything else we can add to this skin. Nah, I think that's good. Problem will be with like something like this is like, well, you'll need to have like the back of this. You'll need to have the side of this. So that'll be kind of tricky. You basically need like a lot of different angles of the same thing. And then like the shoulders, well, you're gonna have to have a picture from the side for those. And even then, it'll, not sure. So let's say that's our skin. What we have to do now is we have to export as. And now we're gonna go to Joe Tutorial. And name this Kyle. Here's the thing. If we do Kyle torso, and later on, because later on we have to turn all of this whole thing, models, players, Joe, into a PK3 file. And you go save as, and then save as PK3. Right now, the way I have it set up is that uh, this name says Joe. So you're wondering like how skins can have a custom name. Well, you're gonna have to replace all these Kyle names with Joe. Mouth eyes doesn't have to be changed unless you make it custom, but you don't really have to. And then for the models, well, those can basically, the name model underscore default, that stays the same. You don't change that. But if you want to make model underscore red or model underscore blue, uh, then that's the format for it. But here, hips models, players, Kyle legs. Notice the problem here. If we left it as it is right now, even though we would have changed the name, let's say Kyle torso to Joe underscore torso, it would still be using the the actual Kyle torso. And you might be thinking, well, why is it using Kyle torso if this is going to be a separate PK3? That's because JK2 reads assets 0 PK3 first before any other PK3s, because kind of has to, since that's basically the game. It has everything in there, so it has to read that first before it reads any other PK3 files. Therefore, it will not overwrite, but it'll use that basically, since there is no other Kyle torso picture, since we would have renamed this to Joe torso. So what we'd have to do is we'd have to change this to Joe and change this to Joe, since since as you can see models players Joe, so this would have to be turned into Joe as well. And then this would have to be changed as well, otherwise it's gonna use the thing. What you could do is change just this Kyle into Joe, and that'll make it so that even though that this is named Kyle torso, it'll be looking in models players Joe and then use the Kyle torso picture. But why would you do that? That's just confusing, so just change both. And all you have to do is just Control H, replace Kyle, replace with, or find what Kyle, replace with Joe, replace all. And I believe we are done with that. We don't have to do anything else. That's it. Stormtrooper doesn't get changed because we weren't looking for the word Stormtrooper and it didn't get replaced. Only Kyle was replaced with Joe. But you also have to make sure that, as you saw there was the basic hand. Well, you could leave it as just basic hand, but you could also name it, you'd have to also name it here, like this file here, to whatever the thing is, Joe underscore basic underscore hand. You could do that, or you could just leave it as basic hand. But you have to make sure that this matches with your picture files. Otherwise, it's gonna be missing a texture. And you have a likelihood of either the game not even running, that it'll crash on startup. It won't, or it won't load the texture, so it'll just be gray. And I think those are the only two possibilities really. So you kind of want to avoid that. So you got to make sure that all the names match. Usually for the most part, I don't think it'll crash, but you don't want any missing textures anyway. So we want to export image as jotorso.jpg. And now we gotta go, oh, not here. I haven't done this in a while. Oh, I think I just have to click export. Yeah, okay. Notice this. This right here kind of matters. You need to have, I think you need to have progressive on. I don't know which of these check marks are on by default, but you want to have, I think progressive at least has to be on, but you might as well just do what I have here. And if I remember, the quality also needs to be like in the 90 area, I think. But I'm not sure if that entirely matters. But I remember something with progressive or optimized, but I think it's progressive that you need enabled. Otherwise, there are going to be some issues. And by that, the game is going to crash. Most likely. Either it's gonna crash immediately when you start the game and it'll just show you a console like saying, oh, bad something. I can't remember what the error is, but you'll get a console message saying that something went wrong. Or you'll make it into the game, and let's say you know how inside the game, you like on the main menu in multiplayer, of course, uh, in I think what setup, and then the first like sub menu is player, and then you have like the skin selection right there, like in the main menu. Um, if you are to go to the, well, that's the thing, that's a different story. That's if the icon is messed up. If you mess up the icon for the game, uh, and you were to scroll to where that icon of the skin is, it'll crash. And it'll give you the error again. But if you don't have an icon, let's say, or you somehow manage to get the icon to be good, working, um, and then some other piece of the skin to be um, not good, then uh, as soon as you type in the skin's model, like you might, like when you're going to be looking in the skin selection, and like you'll see the icon for your skin. That's if you made a custom one. Um, it might work. You're thinking that it works, but once you finally put in model, in this case Joe, it'll crash if you messed it up. It's very picky. So I remember it's also picky about the resolution of the images. So like this image is 1024 by 512. If your image is bigger or smaller than this, it's going to crash. If your icon is bigger or smaller than this, it'll also crash. So, yeah. Where is the thing now? Alright, so we want to save it as it is. Export. Alright, so as you can see, the thing here appeared. We now have Joe Torso. You can preview. As you can see, that's That's our skin. Hooray. And then what we want to do is copy that, paste it into here. We no longer really need this now, do we? Joe torso, model default. So what we want to do is, well, I should mention that whenever you're opening something here in Packscape, uh, sometimes it doesn't always want to open. It'll like give an error like, oh, can't open, or like, or access denied or something. But um, so that's why I like earlier how I pasted the Joe folder here. That could be a reason for want to do that. But for this, especially, you want to just copy the .skin file and just put it wherever you're messing around with skins. Then open it, and then edit it here, save it here, and then copy it to here. So what we want to do is, now this is the problem now. Well, not really a problem actually. All we have to do is do Kyle uh, / and then replace it with Joe /. I was wondering like how to replace this but not this. So you can't type Kyle by itself, otherwise it's going to replace this as well. So now what we have to do is replace Kyle torso with Joe torso. And as you can see, Kyle torso.tga is now turned to Joe torso.tga. And we can see that everything else that was not Kyle underscore torso is left the same. And that's pretty much all we have to do with that. Leave everything else as it is, and then just save. As you can see, you want to, I forgot about this, you want to open the .skin with, open with, and then select Notepad or whatever your text editor is. And then you can open it. You can open it with WordPad too, whatever. I just feel like Notepad is just easier to read. And then what we want to do is copy. Well, we can delete this first, because if we do this, it's going to be like, well, we can replace it, never mind. And notice Joe torso, basic hand, Joe torso, basic hand, Joe torso, Kyle extras, Kyle face. So everything else stays the same except for the Joe torso. So that's basically all we need. Like right now, as it is, you could already make a skin. It's not going to have any sounds though. Where are recent files? Here is Grimjow's skin, not the one that he recently posted about asking where it is, but oh, look at that. There's nothing in here. Cool. Nothing in here. Aha. Some files will have, not some files, but some skins will have a sounds.cfg, and then this is just indicating where the sounds are. Like By that I mean the taunts and each like pain level, because there's 100, 75, 50, 25, and then I think 15. Falling, death, all that. Uh, so this is just indicating where it is. And then the M in this case is like male. Uh, so like if it doesn't have sounds, it'll just use male sounds. So yeah, I know that in the past I've had issues with the sounds.cfg file. Uh, I remember that sometimes getting rid of the sound CFG file entirely makes it work, makes the sounds work. So that's always a thing that you can try. This thumbs.db, not 100% sure what it's for or what it does, but just if it's in there, I just leave it. Uh, but yeah, you don't really need it, is the thing. So, but like in custom skins, uh, if you open up just a custom skin that you found, uh, let's say I want to open up the Vader skin, then it might be in there. Can't remember. Probably is. Uh, then yeah, it's in there. But you don't have to mess with that. But if you're making a new skin, like coloring it over, making team skins, because not all skins have team skins, and if it's not in there, then that's fine. No problem with that. Can I get a better example of this? But yeah, that was the file structure for the thing. For the sounds, for the custom sounds. But anyway, we're not going to mess around with the sounds. Uh, as it is right now, this is good enough. Uh, technically, we don't need this or this or this or this because we only have the only default modified Joe torso. Nothing else has been modified except for the torso. So, and it's just to show that in game how it looks. So I will be back either in this part or in the next part. Probably this part, because it'd be kind of strange to show it off in the next part. Because this is pretty much it, really. Like, just gotta select that. Uh, Notice here, save as type, Quake 3 pack. So that's what you want. You don't want pack or pack. You want PK3. So, and then we can say, save it as Joe. Joe.pk3. You don't have to type pk3 because it'll just add it by itself. So we saved it to base. So if we look at here, EFG. I know now. Yeah, you may or may not come across this problem. Uh, Notice that even though I have hidden items selected, and notice that it's not in here even though I saved it to here. It's actually uh, in like oh, it's not here either. Okay. It's strange because this goes into like hidden folders. kind of. Let me just remember how it is. Hey guys, one last thing that I forgot to mention. Well, yeah, kind of forgot to mention it. Earlier I said that I couldn't find the where that other Joe file went, and this is where it went. App data, local, virtual store, program files, LocusArts, all the way to base, and then it was sitting in here. And since I saved that first one wrong, it kept loading this one here. So yeah, don't do that. If you mess it up, uh, I know that on like Windows 7, I think, uh, it didn't do this from what I remember. Well, there was a different way of like finding it. It was like you had like a button somewhere like on the toolbar and like you could like it said compatibility or something, compatibility files I think, and that's where it was. It would like just show up a different like it was still the base folder and it was in the same location too, but it was just like hidden or something. I don't know, but anyway, um, if you have any problems, then try checking in here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so I am now in JK2 and let's just say I messed up with uh, with the thing. By thing I mean saving that file. It's supposed to be saved without the progressive, without it being checked. I haven't made a skin in months. May have forgotten. So, yeah. Right now, the skin that I'm using is, well, the Joe's skin. And now to test it, doesn't look too bad, right? But the collar is not actually part of the thing, as you can see, though. Collar something else. So that'll be a little. However, another thing I should mention is that you can actually get rid of parts of the skin. Like you can make them invisible. But yeah, there's Joe. So I guess that concludes the skinning tutorial, because there's really nothing else left. But yeah, I was kind of freaking out about the whole progressive thing. You could say I was aggressive. Terrible. Not even a pun. Uh, so yeah, hopefully whoever watches this, it'll help them.